Hey, this is what people don't get. Right now I'm just using the ENEL15 battery that's in the camera that the D850 came with. This is obviously the expensive ENEL18B battery, i.e. the Nikon D5 battery. I'm going to leave it outside of the camera. Obviously, with this out of the camera, I'm getting 7 frames per second. With it in the camera, I'm getting 9 frames per second, but that's not the whole story. So, let's turn it on, which we do. Shooting continuous high, shooting manual mode. Okay, so we got 7 frames per second, right? Is that the only advantage that you get? No, it's not the only advantage you get. What's the difference between 7 frames per second and 9 frames per second? Well, there's 2 frames per second difference between 7 and 9. That's half the story. The difference between 7 frames per second and 9 frames per second, now let's do 9 frames per second, is 28 point something, basically 30%, i.e. 1/3 better, essentially. Less blackout time. So you have basically 30% less blackout time on the mirror. I don't know if you know how your autofocus module works, but that mirror needs to be down to drop the light to the secondary mirror, which drops into the autofocus module bay in the base of the DSLR for autofocus tracking and acquisition. Continued if you're shooting sports or something that's moving. So yeah, you only get 2 more frames per second. You're getting 9 frames per second versus 7, but you're getting essentially 30% less blackout time on the mirror. That is more important. Well, it depends on what side you're coming from. 2 frames per second is actually quite essential. Makes a big difference, especially if you're shooting photojournalism, sports action. 2 frames per second is a big difference, increase. 9/7. But just as important as that is essentially 30% less blackout time on the mirror. Got it? Good.